They came from the frozen north, men of the sea, masters of the sword. To some they were raiders, to others they were explorers, but to all they were feared. These were the Vikings, and their journeys across Europe would change history forever. This is timeless Europe. Who were the Vikings? The Vikings emerged in the late 8th century, from what we now call Scandinavia, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. They were farmers, traders, and shipbuilders, but above all they were sailors. Their longships could slice through oceans and glide along shallow rivers, allowing them to reach places no one expected. It was this mastery of the seas that made them both terrifying raiders and bold explorers. The first raids. In the year 793, the world took notice. Vikings raided the monastery of Lindisfarne off the coast of England. The attack shocked Christian Europe. For the next 2 centuries, monasteries, towns, and cities across Britain, Ireland, and France would live in fear of the dragon-headed ships appearing on the horizon. Viking raids into Europe. The Vikings struck deep into Europe. They sailed the rivers Seine, Loire, and Rhine, raiding towns and even besieging Paris itself in 845. But not all was plunder. Many Vikings settled in the lands they attacked, creating a blend of Norse and European cultures. Viking explorers. Vikings were not just raiders. They were explorers of the known world. They sailed eastward, founding trade routes through Russia to Constantinople. They journeyed westward, discovering Iceland, Greenland, and even reaching North America, centuries before Columbus. These daring voyages expanded Europe's horizons, connecting distant lands through trade, travel, and tales. The Danelaw and Normandy. In England, Viking rule became so powerful that parts of the land were known as the Danelaw. In France, Viking leader Rollo was granted land by the king in 911. That land became Normandy, home of the Normans, who would later conquer England in 1066. The Vikings were no longer outsiders. They had become rulers of Europe. The end of the Viking Age. By the 11th century, the Viking Age came to an end. Many converted to Christianity. Kingdoms grew stronger, defending against raids. And Viking warriors became part of the very societies they once attacked. The raiders of the north were gone, but their legacy lived on. The Viking legacy in Europe. The Vikings gave Europe more than war. They brought shipbuilding techniques, new trade routes, and a spirit of exploration. They shaped languages, place names, and cultures across the continent. From Dublin to Normandy, from Kiev to Greenland, the mark of the Vikings is everywhere. They were feared, they were admired, and above all they were timeless. These were the Viking journeys across Europe, stories of courage, conquest, and discovery. A reminder that history is not only about empires, but about the people who dared to explore beyond the horizon. This is timeless Europe.